that arched gracefully across the morning sky above the golden dome of the administration building. "Oh, how beautiful," Faith said with a sigh. "Symbolic," Jane whispered. "It's the diffusion of light through raindrops," Alaina said flatly, crossing her arms in front of her. She had always been the practical anchor of the group. It was a role she had no intention of giving up. She proudly vowed there wasn't a romantic bone in her body. Brian looked up from fiddling with the camera to frown at her, his strong jaw jutting forward aggressively. "Rainbows have lots of magic in them," he said, dead serious. "Ask any leprechaun. It'd do you some good to believe in magic, Alaina." Alaina's lush mouth turned down at the corners. It wasn't the first time they'd had this argument, but it was probably going to be the last. A sharp pang reverberated throughout the hollowness inside her chest. She swallowed hard. "Take the picture, Hennessy." Brian ignored her, his wise, warm blue eyes taking on a dreamy quality as he gazed up at the soft stripes of color. "We'll each be chasing our own rainbows after today. I wonder where they'll lead us." They each recited the stock answers they'd been giving faculty, friends, and family for months. Jane was leaving to seek fame and fortune in Hollywood as a writer and director. Brian had been accepted into the graduate program of parapsychology at Purdue. Faith was headed to a managerial position in a business office in Cincinnati. Alaina was staying on at Notre Dame to attend law school. "That's where our brains are taking us," Brian said, pulling his cap off to comb a hand back through his hair, as he always did when he went into one of his deep thinking modes. "I wonder where our hearts will take us." If anyone knew the answer to that, it was Brian, Alaina thought. He was the one they told all their secrets to. He was the only person on Earth who knew her deepest wish was for security, not just financial security, but emotional security. And he was the only one who knew just how afraid she was to pursue that dream. Hell, she seldom admitted it to herself. Jane and Faith would probably have been stunned to know strong, self-sufficient Alaina was afraid of anything. But Brian's reaction had been understanding. More than once she had wished he really was her brother, that she could have had his support while she'd been growing up in a house devoid of emotion. "That's the question we should all be asking ourselves," Jane wagged a slender finger at her friends. "Are we in pursuit of our true bliss, or are we merely following a course charted by the expectations of others?" "Do we have to get philosophical?" Alaina groaned, rubbing 2 fingers on each throbbing temple. "I haven't had my mandatory 10 cups of coffee yet this morning." "Life is philosophy, honey," Jane explained patiently, her voice a slow Kentucky drawl that hadn't altered 1 iota during the 4 years she spent in northern Indiana. The expression on her delicately sculptured features was almost comically earnest. "That's a cosmic reality." Alaina blinked. Jane was her opposite, in nearly every way. It was amazing they had become such close friends. Finally, Alaina said, "We don't have to worry about you. You'll fit right in California." Jane smiled. "Why, thank you." Faith chuckled. "Give up, Alaina. You can't win." Alaina winced and held her hands up as if to ward off the words. "Don't say that. I abhor losing." "Anastasia," Brian declared loudly. He gave a decisive nod that set the tassel on his cap dancing. The statement would have seemed straight out of left field to anyone who didn't know Brian Hennessy and the workings of his unconventional mind. Anastasia was the small town on California's rugged northern coast, where the 4 of them had spent spring break. Alaina's lips tilted in a rueful smile at the memory of the fantasy plans they had made to move there and pursue their idealistic existences. Jane's dream had been to have her own farm. Brian had wanted to play the role of local mad scientist. An inn with a view of the ocean had been Faith's wish. They had somehow gotten Alaina to admit to a secret desire to paint. "That's right," Faith said with a misty smile. "We'd all move to Anastasia and live happily ever after."